present moment can be such a key support for our mental health, for recovery from mental disorders, and for just getting the most out of life, enhancing life more generally. And we see this a lot in mindfulness. Clearly, mindfulness is very much about this connection to the present moment with a accepting, flexible, curious attention. And we see this in acceptance and commitment therapy as a core process, this connection with the present moment. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how we use that to support our mental health. So in the previous videos, we've explored this through the frame of primarily anxiety and depression, because the skills from that can branch out into other challenges, other disorders. I wanted to look at this again through the frame of depression in the first instance. So another quality of depression is anhedonia. And this means that we're not getting the same emotional pleasure, enjoyment, fulfillment from activities that we used to. We can either be feeling neutral as we're doing them, or we might be feeling actually low and depressed and have that emotional pain and that self-attack. And the present moment can be so much of a support for this, because if we're in anhedonia, then we are not tending to be very deeply engaged in what we're doing. We're often having a lot of self-focus, a lot of mental rumination and compulsion around judging how we're feeling, thinking about the past and when we used to enjoy things, and comparing, perhaps social comparison with other people, and thinking about the future and predicting that this might go on and we might never enjoy things again. And all of this adds up to a lot of mental compulsion and action that really just pulls us out of the present moment. And if we look at the research from the study of flow and from awe and some of these other psychological concepts, the more focused, the more engaged, the more absorbed we are in our life, often it means the more fulfillment, meaning, enjoyment and purpose that we have. So people will often report the peak experiences in their life where they were deeply engaged, deeply absorbed and connected with other people, with nature, with a hobby, with a certain task or pursuit. And so we want to try and use some of those skills to get us out of depression. And the same for anxiety. So anxiety could be pulling us out of the present because we are worrying about the future, or we're having obsessions and generalized worries about specific themes and content that make us very fearful and pull us out of the actual feedback around us that we are safe and we are secure. And anxiety is trying to get us to avoid the present moment, to pull away from what we're doing, and perhaps to withdraw or avoid doing things, or to problem solve again in our mind to solve these uncertainties. And all of this adds up to very much pulling us out of the present moment. The flip side of it is, if we can get very engaged, very curious and present and accepting of all the pain or the numbness, the anhedonia, then we can start to get really absorbed and deeply into what we're doing and allow the pain and the anxiety to be there in parallel with our key focus on what we're doing. That can be such a support in working with these difficult mind states. So there are lots of metaphors in psychology, and it's a very powerful way of learning, and often will communicate more than just words. And a simple one here is this idea of cars on a road and we're on the pavement. And this one comes from the work of David Veal, is where I read about it. And it's really this concept that the cars on the road are the difficult, anxious thoughts, the obsessions in OCD, the generalized worries in generalized anxiety disorder, the negative rumination, the difficult feelings in depression, the anhedonia, all of that are the cars on the road. And what we typically do is we try and get onto the road, flag down the cars, stop them, and try and shout at them or jump in front of them, or we're basically entangled and engaged with them. So we have this initial layer of thoughts, and then we have all this secondary thinking and emotional control strategies and things we do in response to the cars on the road. And what we want to do as best we can is be on the pavement, task focused, engaged with what we're doing on the pavement with the people we care about. Now and again we might notice the cars on the road, but they're just in the background. We're not giving them a lot of attention. We might just notice them, but the key focus is on the pavement with the people we care about, doing the tasks that we want to do. And this is a skill we can train. So we'll all be good at it when we're captivated and engaged with something or doing something exciting and novel or scary and adrenaline fueled will often get us very much in the moment. But what we don't realize is we can train this skill even when we're depressed or anxious or suffering from other mental health challenges. So we want to set our intention, so just a thought that guides us to start doing this. So when we notice we're being hooked by those difficult thoughts, we notice, acknowledge them, but we keep our focus in the moment, in what we're doing, to be task focused in the present. And so present moment can be very mindful. It can be an engagement with our senses, an open awareness that also notices thoughts and feelings. But we can also be task focused with thinking online. So sometimes in mindfulness we think we always have to be using mindfulness as this present moment engagement, but actually some things in the present moment we need thoughts and thinking to support us. So think of playing a game, playing something like chess. We can't just be mindful and noticing sights and seeing and feeling and be in that kind of pure awareness, pure mindful state. We need to be thinking, anticipating, planning, but we're also in the moment and engaged in what we're doing. And the thoughts we have are task focused. They're not pulling us away. We're not thinking about what we had for dinner last night instead of the chess game, or we're not thinking about something we'd rather do or the future. We're task focused thinking and engaged. And this is the same with even with daydreaming. We can do what's called positive constructive daydreaming. So we are letting the mind wander and be creative, but we're keeping it on a slight lead. So if we find it going off into rumination or worry, then we notice and we gently pull it back onto daydreaming and creative thinking and problem solving around where we want to go in life, our values and our goals. So this present moment focus can be done very much in a mindful way where we're engaged with our senses. It might be a focus on a single sense or an anchor like the breath, the body, or it might be a more open awareness. So we can have this focused attention or open awareness, and a flexible blend of these will often be useful in pursuits. But also we can have task-focused thinking and compassionate, supportive self-talk. And all of that can help us to stay in the present in our life. And that can just be such a powerful support with things like the anhedonia we were talking about, and the worry and the obsessions or the generalized worries that might go with some of the anxiety disorders. And to see this as a practice, it might be really difficult just now, but if we set it as an intention and keep doing it, we'll get better at it. We'll get better at being on the pavement whilst the cars are on the road. And a mindfulness practice will support that, so 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, doing some of the guided practices. Again, you can look at my website in the media page, and you've got some guided practices from me and then a link to some other ones. And there are also apps like Calm and Headspace and Insight Timer and these kind of things, and 10% Happier and some of the other ones available now. And these can all be very useful to help us do a practice. We might also want to go to a class or a group, And if we practice that skill sitting, much like learning a musical instrument and learning chords and practicing them sitting down in a simplified way, then we can take the skill into life and play jazz music or jam with our friends or improvise. So some sitting practice will help. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be very contained, 10 minutes a day, and that will really support this ability to be in the present whilst we have difficult thoughts and feelings. And we can also promote our savouring skills. So savouring is this ability to attend to what's pleasant and enjoyable, and also how good that feels for you, pleasant thoughts and feelings in reaction to that. And your attention dances between the thing you're enjoying and savouring and how good you feel in your body. And that's all in the present moment as well. So that's another skill that can support this. We talked about flow earlier. So flow is when we're deeply engaged. Often we're doing something that's challenging. It's just at the edge of our skill level. We have this focused, relaxed attention, and then because of those qualities, time starts to slow down or speed up, and we become absorbed, we lose self-focused, and we get deeply engaged. And we can train that. We can set that up by practicing these engagement skills in the present moment. And that will also lead to awe. So we can get so absorbed and engaged, we lose this self-focused, and we get this real expansive, open, enjoyable, pleasant feeling, which people will often talk about for peak experiences. And all of this is supported by this present moment practice. And people think you have to have this still mind and have this really calm state, mindful state, and we've been primed with that through our lives by seeing these cliched ideas of monks in complete stillness sitting in the Himalayas. But actually, people can train to do that, and they do that. But even if you talk to some of those great teachers, they will say the mind still can be up and down. It's not always going to be in those deeply absorbed, blissful states. So really, we want to train to be able to get really deeply engaged in something we're doing and lose ourselves and get into flow. And then at other times we might have some difficult thoughts and feelings, and we're using our attention to stay in the present moment. We're a bit distracted. Our attention skills aren't as good as they always are, but we have this intent to keep coming back, to keep returning to the present moment every time our mind drifts away. And so we'll talk more about present moment skills, and they're very much a part of acceptance and commitment therapy, one of the core processes. They link to other core processes like acceptance and diffusion, and actually all the core processes are very interrelated. But present moment can be a really good one. We can't control our mood very easily, our emotions, a lot of our thinking we can't control, but we can control this attention, this ability to come back to the present moment. So yeah, hopefully some ideas there for working with difficult thoughts and feelings using the present moment, and we'll have further videos looking at this and exploring some of these concepts.